Hi everybody, Dr. Reynolds here. Today, I'd like to talk with you about a couple of things, some practical and others more theoretical, but still I think applicable. As many of you know, the clinic has opened recently and things are going relatively smoothly. There is one thing I, though, would like to bring to everyone's attention. It just makes things much more manageable on our end and safer on yours. And that is that when you do arrive, please stay in your vehicle, page or text or call the office, and then one of the clinicians will come out to greet you, rather than coming to the office by yourself. That way, everybody is staying as safe as possible, and it allows us to be in much better control. So if you'll keep that in mind, we'd very much appreciate that. The other issue I would like to discuss today has to do with the effect of the virus and these challenging times, particularly on your child and your child's psyche. We oftentimes think about traumatic events as things that are over the top, overwhelming, and in fact that's true, and you can almost make the argument that what's going on now is that for many children. In broad terms, the definition of trauma includes something that is unusual, outside of our ordinary experience, something that we have a difficult time controlling or cannot control, and also has the potential to do harm. And with those three criteria in mind, I think that this virus and this time really qualifies as a traumatic event, particularly for children and teenagers. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to affect all kids. Some children are more resilient than others. It may depend upon their coping skills, their development, where they're at in their lives. So I don't want you to think that all children will be traumatized by these times, but many will. So I thought it would be timely if I could share with you some of my thoughts and experiences about the kinds of things that children exhibit when they are being affected by a traumatic event. Because they don't often verbalize it that way. More often, children express trauma through their behavior. So let's talk about some of the things that are commonly exhibited by children when they're undergoing stress. One of the first things that we see is what we call negative emotions. More commonly, sadness and hopelessness and things of that nature. But for some children, and maybe some of those children might be here at our clinic, they can be more angry and more irritable. This is their way of reacting to the trauma that they cannot express verbally. So if that's the case, don't necessarily think that your child is regressing or having a really hard time just because they are who they are. It may be just a reaction to what it is and what we're all undergoing now. So try to be understanding and compassionate. And I know that's easy for me to say because we're all under stress right now. But if you do see these symptoms in your children, try to put them in perspective. Now, another type of child, or another symptom a child will exhibit, can be physical. They may manifest these anxieties through headaches, through stomach aches, through trouble falling asleep. These are all physical manifestations of things that the child is experiencing traumatically, but is unable to verbalize. Nightmares, recurrent thoughts, intrusive thoughts, repetitive thoughts. These are oftentimes indications that a child is having a difficult time with their day-to-day experience. So again, something to look for. Try not to overreact. Try to understand it perhaps in the context of what they might be experiencing. Now, it's also important to understand that as disruptive as this period of time has been for all of us, and for children it's been particularly so. Think about it for a minute. All of a sudden, they're no longer going to school. Every day, they're at home. They're used to going to school. It's a routine, and now they're not. This is a very hard lesson to learn for kids, and they may not be able to make much sense of it. In addition, they can't always go out and play with their friends like they used to. It's hard for children to understand why. They may be worried about things like, well, is the family going to have a vacation this year? Or, am I going to go to summer camp this year? What's going to happen about school next year? And these are the kind of thoughts and the kind of concerns that children will verbalize as a way of saying, they're anxious, I'm anxious, Mom, I'm worried, Dad, and these are things that we need to hear and listen to and help them to digest, assuring them as best we can that we're going to keep them safe, that using, for example, masks and gloves will facilitate that, but we need to be understanding and assuring. In older kids, teenagers, they're going to want perhaps a more elaborate explanation. Some may not want to talk about it at all. Give them their space, but do try to bring it up from time to time. Another rule of thumb is let's all limit the amount of news we expose ourselves to, because that can be re-traumatizing almost every day. So again, I'm not saying don't watch the news, only saying let's use that in moderation. Let's watch the news in moderation. And let's expose our children to it in moderation. The I have a clinic whisperer here, somebody who advises me on a regular basis, and a colleague who I share many of my concerns, and he with me. And my clinic whisperer had something very wise to say, as he usually does. He talks about children and says that children are very keen observers, but very poor interpreters. And what he means by that is children don't miss anything. They're following you all the time. They're paying attention to all kinds of things, but they don't always interpret it in a way that you and I might. Sometimes they interpret it in very idiosyncratic ways or very self-centered ways. And this is why we need to sit down and have talks with them from time to time to make sure that they're understanding things in a way that is healthy and normal, and try to normalize it as much as possible. These are the things that our children need our help with. And most importantly, we need as parents to lead by example. We need to lead good, moderated, well-controlled lives. And that's the best example that we can set for our children. Not overreacting, not underreacting, accepting this challenge for what it is, which is very serious, but also putting it in the context of, we're going to survive this. All of us will. And the better job that we do managing ourselves, the more effective we will be as parents. Again, as always, if any of you have any questions, comments, concerns about any of this, please feel free to contact me. In the meantime, we're very happy to have you coming back. We're excited to be working with you and your children again. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.